I guess we could spend the whole talk and the whole workshop on the pros and cons of dating. I know he's looking at the time. It's a very difficult thing today because, like the things that were pointed out about dating and how much is involved. Our beloved Swami, of course, I guess you all know what Swami thinks about boys and girls mixing. And there is, as you said, a lot of peer pressure, and what is the motive? And no matter how many groups I talk to, the motive always comes out to be, I want to get to know this person. I want to live with this girl so I can get to know this person. And then I say, and you've lived with this person for a year? What happens? Oh, if I don't like her, I'll find somebody else. But what happened to the girl? Silence. What happened to the girl? In any relationship we have, whether it's girl to girl or guy to guy, or any friendship, when a relationship breaks up, there's one person that's ready for it to break up and the other one not. It's very seldom that it's a mutual consent. One wants to go, one does not. So the one that doesn't want this to break up, what happens? The hurt is very severe. It's irreparable, the rejection that you have. Now, we can't kid around. The basic reason for dating, most of the time, is sexual attraction, that, as you pointed out. And when you're with a girl for a while or a guy for a while, none of us are high enough or self-realized or even beyond the senses that you can control your senses. It's impossible. If you're human, it's impossible. So I remember my mom's day. She waited for my father for 6 years. He worked 40 hours a week. His father died when he was 12. He went to a Jesuit college at the University of St. Louis. He went to night school, and on weekends he went to school. They met every weekend in her family parlor or his family parlor for an afternoon to spend time together. Interesting. Look how far it's changed, huh? That way they were protected. They didn't get into trouble, see? Getting to know someone. You can live with someone for 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, 10 years and still be getting to know. So that excuse is out the door. It's out the door. You got AIDS, venereal disease, unwanted pregnancy, and not only that, when you go out with somebody and they dump you, the pain is incredible. Incredible. I've heard young people who have gotten divorced or who have lived together. You know what they say? I can't even date another person. I am so hurt inside, I don't even want to talk to another girl. I don't even look at another. If you really love somebody, and the physical body is the mental, the emotional, it is all of your values, your discrimination, everything that you value. When you give yourself to another person, sexually, it is totality. You are giving your total self to that person. The only gift any of us have to give to another person is ourselves. Not flowers, not candy, not jewelry. If I give you jewelry and you throw it away, it ain't going to create no intense emotional suffering. But if I give my body to someone else, and that person after living with them says, I don't want you anymore, we don't think about the consequence of how we hurt ourselves, because you're going to feel guilty. You can't help but feel guilty. And you're going to hurt another person. And we wonder why people are doing drugs, alcohol, running, alcoholics with their jobs. They're all running away. We're trying to lose ourselves because we have hurt ourselves in so many, many ways. It's something that's very serious. It's something we all need to think about. And not only the young adults, but the extramarital affairs. It's all over the place. And why? Because you're associating with more men and women outside the home than ever before. In my mother's day, she was protected because they never went out. And when they did, it was with family and groups. But today, the women and men are traveling together, they're working together, they're standing over the coffee machine talking or over the Xerox machine talking. And oh my gosh, I just had a fight with my wife or my husband, and man, I'm so mad and angry at him, I mean, da-da-da, or vice versa. And the next thing you know, you're visiting and talking with someone, and oh, you feel like, oh, this person really likes me, this person really attracted to me. And the next thing you know, you're in bed with them. And then look at the consequences of these things.
Yeah.
We have to learn how to protect ourselves. Let me say one more thing, honey, then you can come in. Don't mistake what Swami says about men and women separate. From the outside world, people have become Sai devotees. And Sai devotees are not so pure, because if we were pure, we wouldn't be here. Right? And then, I mean, we're human. Let's face it, we're human. We have human feelings. So what has happened in a lot of, not a lot, but enough cases that I've heard about, is that we've had a male Balvikas teacher and a female Balvikas teacher working together, spending time together in the center, working on the programs, and the next thing you know, they're in bed together. We've heard bhajan people, girls and guy bhajan people, ladies and men bhajan people, writing songs, writing bhajans, working together, practicing together. Two couples married. And the two couples got divorced and married each other's spouse. You see, it's so dangerous. You think, you see the movies, you see everywhere you look. Men, every advertisement you look at, you got girls all around you, hanging all over you. And it's been since the very beginning of commercialism. Men are allowed to have lots of ladies. Ladies are looking for one only person. And that's been our programming. Now today, women have switched over to the men's role. And instead of bringing the good character and the virtues of women, what we've done is adapted their negative behavior. Women in the workplaces are cussing. They're sleeping around. They're going to bars afterwards. I mean, it's very sad that we've lost the female identity. And I'm going to go there because I could talk a whole hour on women and the power and strength that we have. But I'm going to, just let me read Swami's quote. What does Swami say? You want to tell that wonderful story?
Which one?
I'll tell you in a second. What does Swami say about dating? In the modern world, youth should know the nature of true love. Many from abroad mix with persons of the opposite sex, calling them boyfriend and girlfriend. If you really love each other, you must get married and not continue living as friends. Swami told a group of boys from New York who had an interview with Swami. They must have discussed dating with Swami. Swami, you know what Swami said? If you meet a girl and you feel something inside and you seem to be interested in her, go ask your parents if you can get married. Because most of the time there's an attraction there that you've already, people say to me, oh, but marriage arrangement versus a love relationship. It makes no difference if it's a marriage arrangement or a love arrangement. It's been arranged before you were married. before you were born, excuse me. It's already been arranged. You want to tell a story? The
Yeah.
Bhajan story that Swami tells?
Well, I got two of them.
Okay.
One of them was there's a married man, and he brings a businessman home to his house. And they have dinner. A few weeks later, the man's in town. He brings him home again, and they have dinner at his house. Very harmless, isn't it? All of a sudden, a few weeks later, there's a knock on the door. Her husband's out of town. The business guy is in town again. Oh, is your husband here? No, he's not here. He's gone. Oh, would you like to go to a movie tonight? Sure, okay. Right? She knows him. Been to her house for dinner and everything. Swami said all of a sudden, crying. Now you know what that means. When Swami says crying, that means sex. Swami says, whose fault is it? And there was silence just like this. Swami said it was the man's fault, not the lady's fault. The man should have protected her and not have brought that foreign person into the home. See, that's totally against what we would have thought. We would have thought it was the lady's fault. She should have had the discrimination not to win out. Swami says, no, it was the man's fault for putting her in a position where she shouldn't be. And then, before the college boys go home in May, or not May rather, April, Swami sends the ladies out of the house and he gives them a father-son talk. And so Swami says to the boys, oh, when you go home, you know all the latest bhajans. And they want you to go to Auntie's house to sing. You go to Auntie's house and you look over, you see a girl there. Next week, you introduce yourself. Next week, you give her a note to meet you, to go to the movies. And then all of a sudden, they're at my veranda door, crying. You ran away and got married. And of course, you know what happened. He says, you only sang bhajans in centers. And then he looked at the men and said, why do you look over at the ladies? They know it's their turn to sing bhajans. Why isn't your eye straight ahead? And all the men were trying to hide. But it's true, you know. He is so simple when he tells a simple story on our humanness. But Swami said it's really not humanist. One time, Narasimhan and Swami, the editor of the Sanatana, who's since passed away, was a very brilliant man, very, very smart. And Swami would love to get him going in debates. And of course, he could never win a debate. So one night in the house in Vrindavan, him and Swami, he's going. Finally, Narasimhan goes, oh, Swami, to err is human, to forgive divine. And he's pointing at Swami. So I thought he finally won a debate with Swami. So some months later, I'm at Puja party and I see him. And he's talking with another Indian friend of mine. And I went, oh, Narasimhan, you finally won a debate from Swami. He says, no, I didn't. You didn't know what he said in Telugu to me. He said to err is subhuman. So see, Swami's standard is so different than ours. So different. And he tells some of the boys just the way it is. You go home and your mother's going to stuff food in your face. Have you sleep in? Oh, you poor thing. You've been getting up so early every day, blah, blah, blah. And he tells the kids what they're going to experience when they go home, how they're going to be spoiled by their parents. Because they've been suffering in Swami school. You know, and it's the truth. It's the absolute truth. And then he tells them how they're acting with the girls and how not to act with the girls. I mean, it's you know.
Swami's very strict. He doesn't want us to add any karma to our life this time. He wants us to attain self-realization. And the very best thing we can do if you're single is to, if you're attracted to someone, find out if you can set up some kind of a situation to communicate with the parents so that you can talk and learn a little bit about each other, but in a safe environment. In a safe environment. When Swami comes in darshan, there's so many people in there. They're all asking Swami, what about my marriage partner? Even those who have lost a marriage partner. Everybody's looking. And poor Swami, he gets bombarded by all this, you see. And what does Swami say? When I was just a young boy, I asked Saima, who will she be? Will she be pretty? Will she be sweet? Here's what he says to me. Om Sai Ram, whatever I will be. The future's not yours, you see. It belongs to me. It belongs to me. I haven't sang that one for a long time. But that's the
Hey,
truth.
wait a minute. Well, what about you, the girls? You just said the
You mean you want
boys.
me to go through this blunder again?
Well, I mean,
I think once is
you're being-
enough.
You're being prejudiced. The girls got to ask Swami too, you know.
When I was just a young girl, I asked Saima, who will he be? Will he be handsome? Will he be rich? Here's what Saima said to me. Om Sai Ram, whatever I will be. The future's not yours, you see. It belongs to me. It belongs to me. Now is that equal? Okay, you want to put your chair over there? What does Swami say? We have so many divorces today, and it's because of the things we've been talking about. And one of the things Swami says about divorce, I love it. He says, do not get confused in the matter of marriage. You have a long life before you. The institution of marriage has become grossly perverted these days. People get married and divorce the third day. Lack of proper consideration, want of blessings, and consent of elders are the causes for such sad state of affairs. Your freedom does not permit you to behave as you please. Wherefrom should your desires arise? It should arise from your Atma, your conscience. Bad vision, bad thoughts give rise to many bad actions. And we are so programmed today by everything we see, aren't we? Of dating and going around and entertaining each other and going to discos and drinking and lifestyle. The lifestyle is so different. So anyway, let's go through the quote again as a group. First, you must understand each other. After that, adjustment will be easy.
Second adjustment. 90% of people try adjustment first. This is the wrong way around. First understand.
Okay, now Swami gave me these 4 different stages of marriage. Marriage is a dream. Realize it. Marriage is a game. Play it. Marriage is a challenge. Meet it. Marriage is love and joy. Marriage is a dream. Realize it. When we're in the honeymoon stage, when we're in the honeymoon stage, we have expectations, we have desires, wishes. We're looking for a Prince Charming, or we're looking for a beautiful princess. And like all this list of expectations we have up here, The more expectations we have, the more trouble we have. Disneyland promised us we would get married and live happily ever after. Not Sai Baba. Big difference. Do you know what the purpose of marriage is? Does anybody know? Swami says, selflessness is godliness. The reason I bring two souls together in marriage is to kill the ego. Doesn't sound like Disneyland to me. So anyway, what happens with these expectations? Well, we get these expectations, and then when we get married, we find out that our partner doesn't live up to our expectations. So today, there is this philosophy, well, if you don't fulfill what I want, I'll find somebody that will. And so they walk off and they leave. The commitment's not there. And the programming instills this, because in Hollywood and Bollywood, all you hear is one person switching partners with another person. That's where it all started from. And that's what came on the movies. So the expectations are what create problems. Let me just give you an example. These things happen and you don't even know it. I grew up in a household with a father who didn't do anything in the household. My mother took care of him. She waited on him. My dad couldn't even boil water or pour his own cup of coffee. So the whole time I grew up, I kept thinking, when I get married, my husband's going to help me in the kitchen. And he's got his back to you, no microphone. We got him in a good place. Now, he grows up, and he's got a mother who plays with the kids and has a good time and is sick a lot of the time. And his father comes home from work and cooks and does the meals. His mother was a terrible cook anyway, but she didn't like to, and she didn't care to improve, right? So, guess what he grew up with? When I get married, my wife is going to do everything in the kitchen. Okay? You see how our expectations clashed? Huh? I expected him to help me in the kitchen. He expected that he didn't have to do anything in the kitchen. Man, it wasn't the first week of our married life that we didn't run into trouble. And I would sit and explain, honey, would you pick? Oh, yeah, he's trying to please me. It's the honeymoon stage. You want to tell him? Oh, you got to tell him. Sorry. Oh, yeah. We couldn't live long without a microphone.
You know, Swami just says a few sentences and says everything. You just got married. You're walking in the garden. Darling, darling, watch out for the thorn there. Now you're on your anniversary. You're walking in the garden. Be careful, there's a thorn there. 5 years go by. You're walking in the garden. Be careful. You step on that thorn, I'll have to rush you to the hospital, waste all my time, all my money. Be careful. What are you doing? Swami says, where was the love your first walk through the garden? Isn't that really, it says it all. You know, all these things, this friction, because you will marry an opposite. Why? Plus and minus. Opposites attract. You go nuts if you're both alike. There wouldn't be any ego rubbing. How can you be self-realized if you don't rub your egos? Because there's no growth. Marriage is growth. Marriage is turning us into God, our divinity. And we only do this by rubbing, polishing. Swami says, how can you get a promotion from grade 1 to grade 2 or grade 8 to grade 9 if you don't have any test? I give you the test to give you promotion so you get married. Therefore, you marry opposites to have growth. So if we accept that fact, we're going to marry an opposite, and we're going to rub our egos. But then all the other things that Swami says about selflessness, sacrifice, working together, ups and downs, growth, all these things happen. And Swami knows they happen. And he knows they're difficult. But the thing that's so wonderful is he's there with us doing the growth. You know? And that's why everyone here is so blessed to know Swami. It is a blessing to know him, to know that you're holding on. We didn't have an easy time, you know? Now, you want to do how many? You want to know when they say I do?
No, honey, you're jumping ahead of me.
Oh, okay.
I'm still on expectations.
What do you mean? Expectations? You're not supposed to have any expectations. That's what gets us in trouble. What's the matter with you, girl? Haven't you learned anything? You're not supposed, you know, that's the truth. If you have expectations, then you expect him or her to do something to create and agree with that expectation, and we're already in trouble because look what you said. You got 2 pages of them.
That's why Swami wants us to be desireless, you see.
Yeah, that's what gets us in trouble. She expected me to help her in the kitchen. I expected her to do everything in the kitchen. And we didn't even know we had that expectation. It was subtle. And man, we had some problems
I'll
with
get
it.
there in a minute.
Okay, I better shut up.
No, you didn't shut up. Just hang on for a minute
Okay.
till I get
Ready?
there. Yeah, no, the purpose of a relationship, all right, is not that you might complete, not that you might, that it might complete you, but that you may share your completeness with another. You see, we get married because I want this person to do this for me. And one of the reasons we're having so much trouble today is we get married for many of the more wrong reasons. It's not in fulfilling another person or wanting to complete their life with you and to have a strong commitment, but many times it's from peer pressure, it's from parent pressure, it's from sexual attraction. There's so many things. Some people don't want to be
Wait a
alone.
minute. We don't use sexual attraction, dear. It's sattvic chemistry.
Sattvic chemistry.
That's the right
That's
problem.
what one of the young adults, the boys, came up with. They wanted to say sexual attraction for expectation, and they said sattvic chemistry. But basically, it's need fulfillment. Okay, I need you because you're going to fulfill this need for me, and that's not the best reason for us to get married. So, young adults say to me, but Auntie, what do I do? What do I do while I'm waiting for this person? And I say, get rid of all your expectations. You know them, because if you got them, you're going to get in trouble. Okay, what's the next one? Life is a game, play it. We have all kinds of games. All kinds. Now this is what happens. When you get married, you're in the honeymoon stage and you're trying to please one another a lot. Then as time passes, you start playing these kind of games, male and female games, parent games, opposites games, and ego games. Now, Robert mentioned it to begin with, and there's 2 different kinds of opposite games. One is, you'll find that when you marry someone, your background can be opposite. For us, he was the youngest. I was the oldest. I went to a private school. He went to a public school. I had a deeply religious family. He didn't have a religious family. I liked to talk when we went to bed at night. He went straight to sleep. He had the idea of he likes math. I can't stand it. I mean, we could go on and on. I lived in the country. He lived in the city. I mean, everything. And when you watch it, it astounds you. He cuts a melon this way. I cut it that way. That sounds nonsensical, but I've been doing this for about since I was 31 years old. I've been doing nothing but working on marriage. He'll take an envelope and he'll lick it. I can't stand it. I go to the faucet and put water on it, okay? If I color code files, he'll put his coffee cup on top of it. You see? You do everything opposite. And so you're constantly rubbing each other's ego. Some of you say, but how do I live compatibly? It is difficult. It is very difficult. It takes so much communication. Not only communication, you have to understand what your program is. Go to the male and female. First of all, just to give you a brief run-through, these are what Swami says is the male image and the female image. And I went through this tonight, parenting a little bit. Now, these roles, of course, should be integrated. I should have male and female balanced energy in me and the men as well. But the females have lost a lot of identity because of the women's liberation movement and everything. But I can see the play, the drama. They were getting paid 58 cents an hour for the same job a man was getting paid $1 an hour for. So there was reason, but like everything, it goes to the extreme. Swami says the man is the provider. These are the gifts that a man can do easily. Those nurturing, sustain, life feeds, caregiver, devotion, love, spirituality, modesty, teacher, sacrifice, sacred. Those are gifts that the ladies do. The men have the rules, the justice, the law, the discipline, protection, wisdom, shelter, education. That man is responsible for what goes on outside the house, and he's responsible for teaching his children what goes outside the house. For a man, Swami says, he's not happy when his son's born. He's happy when his son upholds the good name of his family. So the man is focused on outside the house. Women are focused on what goes on inside the house. Now, I want to do a little, maybe I'll wait and do that. Let's do the other one, the parent games. Now, this is what happens with parent games, y'all.
Well, this is it.
When you get married, you don't realize you have a program inside of you, and it doesn't ignite until you get married and say, I do. The whole time you're being raised with your parents, you are taking on what you like and dislike about your parents, right? Now that doesn't come into play until you're in that situation. So as soon as you say, I do, and you step over into the marriage state, the program that you received from your parents ignites. So basically what happens is this. You married 6 people. His mother, his father, and him. He married my mother, my father, and me. You relive the program. Like he said, oh, what happened to us? Honey, would you please help me in the kitchen? Oh, yeah, I'll be happy to. 6 months later, he's in the living room reading the newspaper, and I'm in the kitchen doing the dishes. And I'm thinking, gee, he doesn't love me. If he loved me, he'd be in here because he knows that I wanted him to help. Why is he sitting here? There's no kids. Should he enjoy himself and not me? Do you see what's going on? Huh? So this became a tremendous problem for us. And I wasn't aware of the programming until many years out in my marriage, 5, 6, 7. Many times you don't even know what's going on because you can't identify it. My father was a man, he was a sportsman. He had people that he did golfing with, he did tennis with, he did softball with. He was a real jock. He was excellent in sports. He was a good father. Don't misunderstand me. He was a very good father. But my grandmother lived with us. And my mother and grandmother did everything together, which freed my father to go as he wished. And it put a barrier in the relationship of my mother and father. So I see my father going all the time, and guess what my mother would say? He doesn't love me. If he loved me, he wouldn't be leaving me all the time. First time he walks out the house with golf clubs slung over his shoulder. What do you think I thought? Do you see how the program plays? Huh? It's a recording, isn't it? Huh? It's a recording. So what do we do as spouses? We both have these incredible programs that we have gotten from our parents. And once we identify them, first you must understand each other. After that, adjustment will be easy. It took us a long time to understand this problem. And when we did, we sat down and talked about it. When I became aware it was going on, now, we're not going to operate on his program anymore. We're not going to operate on my parents' program anymore. What's our program? What do we want? So this is what happened to us. Especially when we retired. The kitchen's my territory. He don't like it. It's that simple. But he will vacuum, he will iron, he will scrub the floors. You see, you find what you can do that makes it easier on each other. So that's what, and the only way you can do this is through communication. I could observe him forever, but only through communication. Now, there's one person in the family you marry opposite that will be easy to want to communicate. There's another person in the family that has it more difficult to communicate. Are you ready to play a little role play with me?
You just said I was difficult to communicate with. So
Not anymore, honey.
Oh, okay.
You've been Rita-tized.
Oh, God.
Not side-ties, Rita-ties.
Ego, ego.
Swami and I have done a
Swami's
good
watching
job.
you. You better be careful.
I'm his
You
instrument.
better be careful. Don't say Rita-tize us. You'll be...
One lady gave me a hot tip, and she says, she says, whenever my husband's doing something I don't like, she says, I just say, Swami's watching you. Isn't that beautiful? I tell you, we hear all kinds of things. Now, I'm a working woman.
We've been married 2 or 3 years, no children.
Well, no children. He works all day, I work all day. And for these 2 years, I have come home every night and cooked dinner in the kitchen. This suits us perfectly, right?
That's expectation number 1. And number over here. Yes, you do a good job with
You want to
that.
come up here on the stage?
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
We don't want you hiding in the back.
Okay.
You're a very important character here. In more ways than one.
Oh, now, I've had a bad day. I've had a bad day at work. I'll tell you, I had a meeting right through lunch. Then I had to eat nothing but a stupid candy bar. Then I had another meeting at 1 o'clock. Will you hurry up and get something to eat for me? I'm going to read the paper, but hurry up, will you?
Oh, honey, if you're so hungry, you know, the refrigerator's got lots of
Don't
food.
give me that refrigerator
The
stuff. Do your
pantry's-
duty and get me
pantry's got-
something to eat.
Got lots of food in there.
Oh, wait.
Why don't you just come in the kitchen and get something to eat?
There is no way I'm going to go into that kitchen. That is shark-infested waters in there. And if I go in there, next I'll be cooking breakfast. There's no... Will you please hurry up? I'm telling you, I am starved. I had a terrible day. Do your duty, woman.
I am so sick and tired of this. Every night I come home from work and you're yelling at me to make dinner. I've been working as hard as you have. You fix your own dinner tonight. And I run into the bedroom and I slam that door so hard the whole house shakes.
Boy, we'll take care of this.
All right. All right, now it's your turn. I have a question for the men. What would you do for dinner? What would you do for dinner that night? Fast food and he'd cook himself. Okay, now, let me ask another question. Anybody want to go to Mom's house for dinner? That's not a good answer, right? Huh? Yeah, go to Mom's house. She'll feed me. Now let me ask you guys a really serious question. Why do you think that 2-year bride got so upset? Why do you think the bride got so upset with her husband?
Because she's also equally tired.
Say that.
She's also equally tired.
She's equally tired. Why?
Working.
Working. Yeah, had a bad day. Ready, you just keep quiet.
And she has to come back and
Now, why do you ladies think?
he's demanding,
Huh?
Yeah, the way he used the word duty, it wasn't right.
Yeah, but why do you think the woman got so hurt? Was it spoken to right? Huh? Expectation? Yeah? What? The way he spoke? Huh? Has anybody ever come up with the idea of, well, you come back now.
My father fed me a good dinner.
Taken for granted? Hmm? Now let me ask you guys another question. If you were at work,
What, wait a minute, I missed,
Don't say anything.
no, what?
Don't say anything.
Oh, they didn't, what they
Don't
answer?
say anything.
They
oh,
go-
they're going to mother's house, they're going, no, they're gonna go have fast food,
Oh,
they're
are
gonna
they?
cook dinner for themselves.
Really?
Yeah. Okay, now let me ask you this. If you gents,
I bet it's microwaved.
fast food, microwave, you gents are at work, and you're teamed up with a buddy, and your boss gives you a project to do as a team, 2 of you. And your buddy takes extended coffee and tea breaks, comes in very late for lunch, and you're doing 90% of the work. And then the buddy comes, your teammate comes, and he takes the report and gives it to the boss and takes credit for it all. What would you guys do? Hmm?
Are you relating this to the earlier incident?
Mm-mm. What would you do? Get angry and upset. But what would you do? What action would you take? Huh? What?
You probably take it out of the guy.
Take it out on the other guy.
Explain to the boss exactly what happened.
Explain to the boss exactly what happened.
Okay, good answer. Communication. What else? Anybody else have any answer? Hmm? Who would the first person you'd want to talk to? Hmm? Your partner? Yeah. Both. Either answer. It's really good. It's communication, right? Now, if you were married and your wife slammed the door and you went and got fast food or cooked your own meal, can you think of anything else you could do?
Yes.
What?
Take her out for dinner.
Take her out for dinner. Good man. Woo, woo. Are you married? Eligible. A good one. Dating. Take her out for dinner. You see, would anybody knock on the door and say, honey, why are you so upset? Hmm? It's okay for men in the workplace to communicate with men in the workplace. But where men have difficulty is communicating in the home. It's very acceptable, and this is natural. For women, they are the inside. You know, we had the male and female. They're the inside image. So for them, when there's a problem in the house, what do they want to do? Talk about it, right? Huh? You You want to talk to your spouse about it. You want to talk to your kids about it because they have the ability to nurture. They want harmony in the house. They want devotion. They want values. And that is their job. So what we have to learn to do is to not only learn to communicate outside the home, but communicate inside the home. Both. Now, it wasn't easy for him to communicate. All right? And those that it's hard to communicate, you have to help if there's a problem. What I used to do with Robert is he would come in the house and I would see that he's upset either by something he said or something he did. And I would look at him. Now, for us to communicate, we must be good listeners. And to listen to someone is not to listen and do all kinds of activities at the same time. You stop, you look the person in the eye, and if there's an argument or a fight, all you have to do is touch the other person. Not slap. Not pull hair. Why do you think he's bald?
You're in deep trouble, boy.
I'm having so much fun. You see, he has teased. We have so much humor in our life. Clean up your bedroom and to put your clothes away and to make the bed this morning before you left. And I came home and you hadn't done anything. I said, do you think that could upset me? Okay. I said, I feel really bad and sorry about arguing with you or fussing at you. I said, could you possibly feel sorry about hurting my feelings by not doing what I asked? And he would say, yes. Then we'd get done. He would say, boy, I'm sure glad we had this talk. I feel much better. But you see, you have to coax the person that has more difficulty slowly along until they get used to communicating. Robert and I, as I said, what we decided to do even with our kids was we had a date night. Once a week, on a weekend, we go out to dinner. It's our time. If you don't spend time with your spouse, you don't have a relationship. You cannot have a relationship unless you spend time with each other. Can you have a relationship with a friend if you never see him? Just because you come in the same house, eat dinner, and run out doesn't mean you got a relationship. Communication, understanding. We started going out and we would talk about world events. You don't start talking about personal problems if you've never talked about personal problems. I would learn from him. And then we would talk about the kids and how we could work together. And eventually we talked more and more about ourselves. That it became a ritual once every day before we went to bed. We spent 15 minutes to 30 minutes a day sharing what happened in our day. And he would give me insight, and I would give him insight, and we helped. That we know each other so well that we can joke and tease and cut up.
We got about 10 minutes.
Is that all I got?
Yeah.
Oh, Lord. Opposite games. You will marry opposites. Not only like I just said, but you will marry opposite energies. And that's what's written in my book, Love of Conscience. There are two energies. There are two inner energies and there are two outer energies. The inner energies will marry the outer energies, and the outers will marry the inners. Now, they communicate entirely different. Entirely different. But you marry opposites because opposites attract, and it's how God kept the world in balance. Actions. One of the partners will communicate with actions. One will communicate with words. And how does that work? Okay, the action person doesn't like confrontation. So if they disagree with what you're saying, they will show you through an action. Give you an example. I told Robert to clean the basement. I said, get rid of all those old antique cars you got down there and all those geology rocks you've been keeping and dragging around for the last 25 years. Let's get this place cleaned up. Now, if Robert asked me to do something, because I'm a word person, I would have said, no, I ain't going to do that. I'll clean the basement and I'll go through some of it, but not all of it. But he's a show person. He's going to give me an action. So I don't pay any attention. I'm busy all weekend with the family and stuff, and I go down there on Monday morning and do the laundry, and there sits the racks, there sits the cars. He didn't do anything. Now what did he show me? He showed me what he really thought, right? He couldn't tell because they don't like confrontation. They communicate indirectly. This one person, the word person, they speak what they think. They're very direct in their communication. They'll say things that offend and hurt the action people. We all think we all communicate the same way, and we don't. The action people don't like being told what to do. The word people will tell you what to do. Come in the house, and I'm a man, and I come in and I say, what have you done all day long? This house is a mess. The kids' toys are all over the place. You haven't cleaned up the kitchen. Where's the dinner? What have you done today? All right? Now, the action person has been playing with the kids all day, enjoying themselves. Didn't even think or pay any attention to the time, because some of the action people, they lose time. That's part of their chemistry, which I go into great detail in that book. Let me tell you how this works with your kids. I have an action daughter and I have a word daughter. And the action daughter comes in the house, and she's very observant. She's got asked to go to a friend's house. So she goes and sees Mom in the kitchen, and she says, Mom, can I help you with dinner? And I said, oh, thanks, honey, would you set the table? Now, she doesn't tell me her friend invited, but after dinner, she says, can I help you with dishes? And I'll say either yes or no. And then she'll say, you know, Mom, I did my homework. My homework was all finished in study hall. I have nothing to do. My friend Jane invited me to come over for an hour this evening. Can I go? What do you think you'll say? Yes. That's my action person. They can observe. These people learn through observation and knowledge. These learn through direct experience. So the action person has got a yes. The word person comes in. I got a word person daughter who comes in screaming. She's so excited her girlfriend invited her to go to her house. She busts through the door, screaming from the time she got in the house, can I go to Jane's house? And I say, what's the matter with you? Can't you see how busy I'm cooking dinner? I gotta feed this baby. I got the What answer do you think? Do you have your homework done? What answer do you think she gets? No. You're going to all have action and word people in your house. The word people will speak very personal. You can meet a word person on a bus. And before you get off at your stop, you found out that the word person's husband is divorcing her. They're going to court tomorrow. She's lost most of the house, and her child is sick, and she doesn't know who she's going to have to take. I mean, you'll find everything out about that word person. The action person, if you want knowledge from them, information, they will give you, because they are going to do a lot of research. They learn through knowledge. They're going to do a lot of research. They're going to study. They'll give you lots of details and facts if you ask them for it. But to ask them for a personal judgment or to ask them for a personal opinion, you will not get it. So this is what you're married to. Opposites. One person will be verbal. The tone of my voice upset him so much that it closed him down. And the more that he paid less attention to anything I asked and gave me all kinds of negative actions, the more I would yell. And the more I would scream, the further in he would go. The further in he would go, the further out I would go. Do you see what we do to each other? Till we totally close down communication. But we communicate so different that we don't understand the other person's method of communication. If you get love of conscience, that knowledge came to me from Swami, started when I was 31 years old. It is so helpful. So you will marry an opposite. I can guarantee all of you unmarried people, as well as married people, you finding this interesting? Huh? Are you? I've had people come to our classes that we've done these seminars. And I mean, I've had doctors come to me and say, my God, you've written all about me. You know everything about me. You know more about me than I know about me, myself. You'll find yourself in there very easy. And God did this to balance the whole universe. And it's fascinating because once you understand yourself and you understand your spouse, forgiveness comes. You look at the other person, you say, why can't I be like that? Why am I like this? Don't we do that? Don't we look at the other person and wish we could be like the other? You can't. It's a program that exists. It's like a computer chip, and that's the way we are. But once you learn this, and you can understand each other, not only does forgiveness come easily, but I've learned so much from him, and vice versa. And he's very diplomatic, his energy. And I have a problem. I had to confront somebody. I would go to this energy, this man's energy, the action energy, and say, how would you say this so that it doesn't offend that person? And he was teaching me all these years as I was teaching him to be more of an action person. Not an action person, but a doer person. The action people takes them longer. They're procrastinators. It takes them longer to move and do something. So we balanced each other. Marriage is a challenge. Meet it. Communication's critical. That's the number one thing. You've got to sit and communicate, and even if it's asking each other about sports or whatever it is, talk to each other. Go out and spend time together. If it's a picnic park in the afternoon, if you can only give each other an hour or hour and a half or 2 hours a week, spend time together. Sacrifice is critical. Women's nature is, their gift is sacrifice. They know how to sacrifice in the home a lot easier than the male ego does. And the men have to learn from the women. They have to learn that they have to sacrifice their time outside the home and help more in the home. It takes both parents today. And young adults did a scene, and I want to explain it to you. The question was, how can I balance my psi activities with my family activities? And they were boys. So 2 boys got down on the floor on all fours. One was the father and one was the mother. The third child was a child, the third boy. So the third boy got up on the backs of the 2 on the floor. Now they said, when the mother and father are together, it's very stable for the child. If their relationship is good and strong and firm, it's very good for the child. The one boy moved like this aside, and the child in the back fell through the crack and across the floor. And the young adult said, if the mother and father are not together, the child falls through the crack. Do you think anyone there will ever forget that visual that they made? Huh? I certainly haven't. That's why it's critical, and it takes love. We all know Swami's love. Go, honey. Selfless love is the object, and self-realization is the goal. The whole object of marriage, it's the laboratory that teaches us to have a union with God. Our goal is merging with our Lord. That's self-realization. In our relationship in the home, if we compromise and give and sacrifice to each other, it is practicing what we have to do with God. Right? We have all kinds of desires that get in our way with God. We have all kinds of attachments, all sorts of things that get in our way. So Swami gives men and women the very first institution, which is marriage. The very first institution God gave to man was marriage, for the purpose of preparing him for his union with God. Okay, now, are these guys ready for the next task?
Oh, I think so.
You think so? Huh?
Yeah.
All right.
On each table, there's been 2 sheets of paper, and if you need more, there's pens back there, and there's also some quotes from Swami. Now, what you're going to do, you've all picked a subject to work on, an issue and concern. You've all written a question as each group. So now what you have to do is present a program on how to solve it. Okay? So you have an hour to do this. So what you have to do is come up with at least 3 solutions to your question. And you have to reinforce your own solutions with some of Swami's quotes, whether it's 1 quote or 2 quotes, whatever, to reinforce yours. And so you can do role plays, you can do anything you want to do to be creative in order to come up with a presentation. So after you create your presentation, you'll go to dinner, and then we'll all come back in here as a group
And watch the
watch
show.
this show. We got 9 presentations. Try to keep them to 5 minutes, which will run about an hour.
And try to use everybody in the group.
Yeah.
If somebody's really shy,
Have them read the quote.
yeah, so that
Okay.
everybody can participate a
Participate.
little bit.
Okay.
Does anybody have any questions? The instructions are written on the back of your program.
Yeah.
Does
You have-
everybody understand what the duty and charge is here? Huh? Okay?
Okay,
Have
you have
fun.
right about an hour, so have fun. If you want to go out in the hallways and practice role plays to get out of the way, go ahead and do it.